So the book review that I'm going to be doing is on the book called Creating Community, 5 Keys to Building a Small Group Culture. And it was really written from the perspective of 2 individuals, one in particular being a pastor who has built his church around the small group foundation and as the culture of the church. So as an overview, I'm just going to hit on what the authors, of course, hit on. What is community? Why would we move to small groups? And then moving into the 5 keys to building a small group culture, then we'll do a quick review and see if there's any thoughts or questions that you have. So looking first and foremost at why community. And the authors state that we are living in a culture that is craving relationships. And when we are not in meaningful relationship, we suffer the natural consequences of a lost perspective, fear of intimacy, selfishness, and even poor health. So we could ask the question, well, why would we choose small groups to resolve these challenges? And Andy Stanley, who is one of the authors, said that we believe the small group is the best place for sustained life change to occur. In small groups, people study God's Word together. They're in a safe environment in order to discuss the issues that challenge their lives. It's also where they pray for each other, care for one another, and if they are missed, if they don't show up, they're definitely missed in the group, and there's communication that happens over that. The authors also make a really powerful statement by saying that they believe that more kingdom impact can happen in a small group of 10 people that meet in a home than with 1,000 people that are preached to on a Sunday morning. They also believe that there's other benefits of a small group, which include decentralizing the leadership and dispersing the care of the people, enabling more people in the church to serve, helping to develop an authentic community, offering flexibility to people who can't always attend regular church services or build relationships that way, but also a unique thing that I had never thought of, which was allowing us to build better stewardship so that we have fewer church-owned and maintained facilities, and also promoting church growth. So now let's take a look at really diving into what the authors identified as the 5 keys to build a small group culture. So they identified these as creating a place for relationship, clarifying the goals, choosing your strategy, keeping it simple, and staying in reality. So this really is taking a big picture overview for a church that wanted to create a culture where small groups are what were emphasized in order to build community. So I'm just going to break each one of these down very quickly here. So first, looking at to create a place for relationship. So this place for relationship needs to be a place where an environment that creates authentic community and allows these relationships to take place. Building the relationship where people experience oneness, they experience God together, they're having satisfying and meaningful relationships. It's compelling for them to want to attend and to be there, and they're having a unique experience outside of an experience that they could have anyplace else, which really does come from the relationships that they build. The church leadership needs to clarify the goals for the small groups. They do this through identifying what it is that they want the people to become through small groups. So the authors of this book really emphasized relationship. They want them to become whole and complete through the relationships that they build. Also, defining what spiritual maturity is and how they are going to achieve and build this through the small group and helping people decide where it is that they want to go. The authors also encourage finding what they call just a word, that one individual word that aligns with the goal and the mission. And the authors of this book had chosen the word relational for their small groups. So the third is choose your strategy. And the authors highly emphasize the importance of the strategy being simple, easy to understand, and easy to implement. Also, that your strategy should align with the why small group. So those things that we talked about earlier in this previous slide, why would we have small groups, that it's important that they align with that mission. That we should create accountability, and in that accountability that we have designed small groups as a priority. to build relationships, and that attendance in these small groups is just a natural byproduct of that. And remembering that people care is the key to the success of these small groups. So in creating small groups, we want to help to move people forward towards intimacy of relationship with each other, but also intimacy of relationship with Christ, and not be in competition with the other small groups. And the authors use the example of a home of, in relationship, we move from the foyer, which is the acquaintance part of relationship, to the living room, which is where we may invite friends, and then to the kitchen table, which is where families move to. And so realizing that the natural progression of small groups is to move through these different levels. Number 4 is to keep it simple. So small groups should be easy for the leaders to come in, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment, how we create a realm of it being easy for them. It should be obvious, meaning that we really promote the small groups within our church publicly. And then it should also be strategic. So through the relationships, we want to make attending the starting point to connecting to the small group that is a natural and authentic part of their, first of all, their life, but then also connecting them in their relationship with Christ. We want to begin to move them into that living room and kitchen table experience. The authors also encourage a try before you commit experience. And what they mean by that is that people don't want to feel trapped if the group is not naturally gelling. So they encourage that you establish starter groups that move for 8 weeks. And if the group is gelling, then they continue on into this covenant period where they become a fully functioning group that meets for 18 to 24 months. If the group is not gelling, then they encourage the group that it's okay to disband. Now, they do say in their experience over 90% of the groups gel, but that it is important for them to have an out if they are not gelling. They also talk about the importance of closed groups, that during that 18 to 24 month period after the gelling takes place, that they close the group to any new members. And they encourage this for the sake of creating vulnerability, openness, and transparency if people have moved into the kitchen, so to speak, the kitchen table where the intimacy is taking place. Because if new people are coming in, it's hard to be in that place. But then at the end of 18 to 24 months to reopen the group so that they divide and start new groups all over again. So moving into the staying into reality, the authors talk a lot about the importance of training the volunteers, but also recognizing that our volunteers have limited time and that we need to be realistic with this. They have families, they have jobs, and they also encourage a rotation of group leaders and having sub-leaders within the groups. Also providing flexibility to knowing when to take breaks. They encourage that leaders should be trained and developed. They also encourage that during this training and development time that you have proper funding, that you provide childcare for the development of these leaders, that is extremely important. They also describe what the leaders should look like, that they should be connected with the church, they should be people of character, integrity, a good reputation, that they should have good chemistry with the staff and leadership, and embrace the small group culture of and be competent in what it is that they do. That these leaders should also be open to monitoring and modifying where necessary. So just a couple of other things that the authors hit on is, in order to set this up for success, remember, keep the strategy simple, make the small groups visible, and what they mean by that is communicating how important the small groups are throughout the community services. And you can do this through celebrating the groups in announcements, through sermon illustrations, through different videos of interviewing the small group leaders and participants, making the small group literally a part of your church's DNA. And lastly, the authors talk about the importance of the small group being a passion and not just another program. And in order for this to happen, the senior leadership and the senior leaders of the church must be committed and involved in small groups themselves in order for it not just to be another program. So again, this was an excellent book. I found it extremely helpful for anyone that would be looking to start small groups within their church and really make it a part of building relationships and a part of the foundation of the church. And again, just not, the authors definitely aren't about this just being another program, but about it being the foundations of the church. So what we talked about here is what is community, why small groups, the 5 keys to building a small group culture, now reviewing, and last but not least, any thoughts or questions that you have. So I realize this is a voiceover PowerPoint, but if you do have any thoughts or questions, I would welcome the opportunity to talk with you about them. So again, thanks everyone. Wonderful class tonight. Really enjoyed learning together from all of you. Very insightful. And of course, thanks Dr. Ingrid for even providing the space for that to happen. Have a good night, everyone.